Hey folks, this is Riker with a Diablo video on the secret puzzle / ARG that was released for Diablo, predicting or revealing the future of the franchise. Now, I spoke about this a bit in my news video yesterday, but we're going to give now the full breakdown, including some of the footage you might have seen from yesterday's news video, just as an introduction. So let's dive right into it. Patch 2.5 has gone live ahead of the launch of Season 2, which will be on October 6th. The most exciting thing, at least for me, about the patch notes, however, was the dropping of an ARG at the end. Call it an ARG, call it a puzzle. It was a series of coded messages in which we needed to work our way through and decrypt, and as of now, it's almost fully decrypted. But we'll talk through where we are and how we've gotten there. So this all began when, at the end of the patch notes post, we saw PS, we were flipping through the old Diablo II manual. This is a link to the PDF of the D2 manual, and found this confounding inscription. What does it all mean? Picture of lots of really cool Diablo memorabilia, but then there's this journal front and center with gobbledygook, an arrow and question marks, clearly some form of coded message. As hints, we have this symbol here, this coin that is an emblem of D2R. Beneath that, we have the chat gem, and then we have keys. So some clever folks figured out that this was encoded with a Visionaire cipher, and that's a cipher in which you need to use a key, which could be anything, it could be a word, in order to decode it. And so if you apply the key Resurrected, as in Diablo II Resurrected, this message becomes decoded. And the message decodes to so many gems. What do these orange numbers mean? So that was another puzzle to solve. And again, then we have D2R logo, chat gem, keys. The chat gem in Diablo II Resurrected is the key. So some clever folks again started booting up D2R and spam clicking the chat gem. And you can do this yourself from within the game. You click on lobby, that'll take you to the chat, and then you start clicking the chat gem over and over and over. It's going to say activated, deactivated until eventually, and it can take a very long time, a golden sequence of numbers or an orange sequence of numbers will appear. A 9-digit number sequence. And that's going to look something like this over here. Now, interestingly enough, allegedly, these numbers have been in the game since launch. Reports have emerged, or reports emerged again a year ago at launch of D2R that these numbers were there. So this apparently has been in the game since then, and no one knew what it did. So again, we had these 9-digit numbers being outputted. And what do you do with those? Well, again, they're linking the Diablo II manual. Some very clever individuals figured out that the first 3 digits of the number refer to an order, a sequence in which they appear. Then the second 2 digits refer to the page on the PDF. The next 2 are the line, and the final 2 numbers are the word. And so you keep generating these numbers within D2R, and this became a huge community effort. A document was made spearheaded by Wolfie, but a number of Diablo 2 content creators started to get their communities involved in this as well. It really was a beautiful coming together of the community to start sending in tons of data to help parse this. Again, as of the time of this recording, 10 of the numbers have yet to be discovered, so there's still some gaps, but there are in total 666, a most virtuous number, and the words start to form sentences with some form of meaning. Now, you can't read into the existing punctuation, and you have to sort of discern and guess where do sentences end, where's punctuation intended to be. But you further start to look into it and you see certain repeating phrases. And when you do that, you notice that we keep having these things called vision of the something, vision of the something, vision of the something, vision of something. And it appears as though these are paragraph headers intended to divide up this block of text into different sections. And that's based on the opening paragraph. The stones have spoken to me again, showing visions that only I can so easily see. How can the others be so ignorant to their blank? Help us fill it in. Cast me aside, will they? I shall not waste my breath on the savages. The crystals of the earth have predicted before. I know these visions tell us secrets. So, visions. This individual is seeing visions. And so this entire narrative is broken up into different visions, which he titles. Vision of the Towering Heart, Vision of the Eternal, Vision of Grizzled Eyes, Vision of Mad Ancient Lies, Vision of Life, Vision of Swarms, Vision of the Eternal End, Vision of the Individual, Vision of the Night, Vision of Greatness, and there was sometimes some confusion as to what was the full title. Was it Vision of Mad, and did it end there? Well, if you take the first letter of every word after Vision of the, you get T-H-E, the, G-E-M, gem, A-L-L, all, S-E-E-I-N-G. The gem all-seeing. Does that mean anything? Not really, but it's just there in order to let us know where the paragraphs are broken up. So we know, again, for instance, that this is Vision of Mad Ancient Lies and not Vision of Mad, and then Ancient Lies is part of that first paragraph. So this is where we are right now. There's, again, 10 missing words. We can mostly parse what some of those missing words are based on context, but everything here is highly metaphorical. They're using figurative language, and they're also having to work within the confines of what the D2 game manual provides. So, overall, it appears that what this message conveys is the story of Diablo, past, present, and future. We start off, this initial paragraph describes everything that happens before Diablo 1. Then this covers the story of Diablo 1, and we go through the games and the expansions until we end up, after Diablo III Reaper of Souls, into what seems to be teasers for Diablo IV. Now, I would skip straight to the Diablo IV stuff, but in order to add some context and help you understand what certain terms may mean, we'll go through everything here. So, the Great One of All, shattered into 7 dark and 5 light. In Diablo lore, in the beginning there was a god called Anu, the Great One. He broke himself up into 2 pieces, and then those pieces fought each other and they destroyed each other, breaking up into the 7 evils, and you can argue the 5 archangels, the 5 light, the dark and the light. Then the remnants of the stones laying the foundation for all this destruction. You can argue that this means that the rest of his body, the rest of the pieces of his body formed hell and heaven, which is what would lead to this war between heaven and hell, and therefore all the destruction that would follow throughout the rest of eternity. Again, this is just our best interpretations of what we are reading here. Feel free to sound off with your interpretations if you disagree with anything or if you feel you can add greater insight. Sets in action the endless and impossible blank of restoring what was broken to perfect form. I'm gonna guess that's task. Sets in action the endless and impossible task of restoring what was broken to perfect form. Once to the blank, hard to know what that word could be, one of the shattered pieces. So here they're talking about the eternal conflict between heaven and hell. One of the shattered pieces, neither light or shadow cut with the ability to create. One of the shattered pieces here likely refers to the World Stone. This was a piece of Anu, and it could be used to create worlds, but neither angels or demons could effectively use it. So the World Stone passed between the hands of angels and demons throughout the war, like a football. When the angels had it and tried to create worlds, their worlds would eventually crumble. When the demons got possession and they would create worlds, their worlds would crumble. And special shout out to Diablo Lore Master 9ball for the consult on this. As we go on, while it is closely protected, no prison is eternal and soon is released by the burning red gem and high white gem. So, Lilith, the burning red gem, and Inarius, the high white gem, they hatched a plan to steal the World Stone away. They wanted to be done with the eternal conflict. They took the World Stone and then the ability used to create a hidden and secret realm. It was with the combined power of light and dark, the balance was found and they were able to create a realm, Sanctuary, the world, that did not ultimately crumble. And Sanctuary was hidden from heaven and hell. This, of course, however, was a defection. Lilith took some demons and defected from the war. Inarius took some angels and defected from the war. And in the fallout, war explodes and the seven turn on each other. This refers to the Sin War, in which within hell there was a great revolution. The three perfect, corrupted by the four flawless. They're referring to gems a lot here. The perfect gems, the flawless gems. Perfect gems are the highest quality gems. The three perfect refer to the three prime evils. The four flawless, the quality underneath. The four lesser evils. Prime evils, Diablo, Mephisto, and Baal. Lesser evils being Asmodan, Belial, Andariel, and Duriel. By the way, folks, we got an entire Diablo lore series that goes through all of this. Be sure to check that out, or rewatch it for the 1800th time in preparation of the next lore video. A false break to gain access to the Stones of the Soul. The Soul Stones. Now, Tyrael had the Soul Stones created as prisons for the Prime Evils. However, this was all a big ploy. The Prime Evils were 400 IQ big brains that orchestrated this entire thing. Their exile was orchestrated by themselves. They wanted to be exiled into the mortal world and be trapped into the Soul Stones because the Soul Stones were actually a way for them to gain more power. One perfect shattered gem. Baal, when sucked into his Soul Stone was shattered and it was only a piece of the Soul Stone left that Talrasha had to hold on to. One perfect corrupts from within. Mephisto, once he was put into his Soul Stone, he was kept at the Zakharum Church and started to slowly corrupt the church from within. One perfect hidden deep. Diablo's Soul Stone was hidden deep beneath Tristram Cathedral. And that lays the story in preparation of Diablo 1, and here we go, Diablo 1. Terror unleashed. Diablo Lord of Terror, unleashed into a child, the son of King Leoric, and held deep within the earth below Tristram Cathedral. File by its would-be attackers. I think file is an incorrect word here. It's probably found or something else by its would-be attackers. Maybe protected, maybe saved? Anyway, setting the gem within the new host. This is when the warrior, Prince Aiden, comes, defeats Diablo, takes the Soul Stone and puts it into himself. Then it drives east. East to be released by the other two Dark Stones. The plot of Diablo II, or what leads up to Diablo II, is the Dark Wanderer Aiden heading east. He's feeling the call of Mephisto and Baal because it's their plan to now release Diablo. Into the next section, a former foe of one of the three, cast to the nothing, returns to be imprisoned once more. I struggled a lot with this one. Cast to the nothing seems to refer to the void. A prison realm, effectively. A number of figures have been cast to the void, but not a whole lot. Lilith was one of them, however. She managed to escape the void before being sent there again. A former foe of one of the three doesn't really match for Lilith. Yes, she was opposed to them, but not really a foe, and not really one in particular. I guess you can say her dad, but it's weak. The thing that doesn't fit the most, though, is if this is a chronology, and for all intents and purposes, it appears to be a chronology, that all of this is in consecutive order, Lilith's stuff happened way before Diablo 1. Nothing happens between Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 of any real consequence. There is one demon within the lore called Cabraxis, who was a big scary demon. The three prime evils feared him. He wasn't really an enemy of one in particular. He's only mentioned in a book that releases that takes place again between Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. He is freed from the world and he is imprisoned once more, but there's no mention of it being to the void. And it really feels like cast to the nothing, feels like cast to the void. And so what I'm left with is the very regrettable and uncomfortable realization that this probably refers to the Hellfire expansion of Diablo 1. This is kind of a lore black hole, but doing some digging, the villain of the Hellfire expansion of Diablo 1 is named Nakruel. And he is described as being someone who was sent to the void by Diablo. Diablo being one of the three, a former foe, cast to the void, and then at the end of Hellfire he's defeated by our hero. Whether he's imprisoned or not is not clear, or I'm not too sure what happens there, but Nakruel seems to be the best fit here, and so this tells the story of Hellfire, effectively. And the reason that I'm speaking this way about Hellfire is Hellfire was an expansion developed by Sierra and not by Blizzard. It was outsourced, and Blizzard has effectively decanonized Hellfire, as in whatever happened in Hellfire, they're not considering a canon part of the lore. However, I'm going to interpret them, including it here, as a means of conveying to us we are explaining the story in order of the games. So pay attention when we get to the Diablo IV part, because we're dropping some major freaking hints about the story of Diablo IV. So that takes us to the next chapter. This is Diablo II now. A shadow keeps moving, the shadow of a past light. This is Aiden. He is a shadow of his former self, a shadow of the hero he was as he becomes increasingly corrupted by the spark, carrying within it the spark, the dark soulstone, the spirit of Diablo. Blank evil brothers together, the three evil brothers, again the three prime evils, the dark gem cut anew. Now I think this might refer to Diablo now becoming Diablo again. The dark wanderer, the gem is cut anew, he sheds his mortal flesh, and he is once more Diablo. He is the dark gem in this case. They seem to use the term gem to refer to, metaphorically, the evils at times, only to return to the world between realms. Pandemonium is the world between realms. It is owned by neither heaven nor hell. And what happens right after Diablo takes his form in Act 3, he walks through that portal, crossing the Bone Bridge, and you end up straight in the Pandemonium Fortress. Then, two dark stones of soul shattered. The two soul stones of Diablo and Mephisto, we shatter them in Act 4 after going through the portal to the Pandemonium Fortress. We get to the Hellforge. Then one fled to be joined to the Eye. The Eye of Anu is another word for, or another term for the World Stone. The one that fled, Baal fled to Mount Ariat where the World Stone is. Then the last perfect exiled. Baal was the last of the perfect gems, the last of the prime evils. He was defeated and exiled. Then the Eye corrupted beyond repair. Baal managed to corrupt the Eye of Anu, the World Stone. It could not be fixed. To be destroyed by one of the five light. Tyrael, one of the archangels, was forced to destroy the World Stone because it was corrupt, and it was reduced to shards, splintered into a million pieces. That takes us to Diablo Immortal. Shards thrown to the far reaches. The plot of Immortal is that shards of the World Stone have gone around the world. Pieces that still hold echoes of their former power, sought by those who seek to claim or destroy. The entire plot of Immortal revolves around entities seeking out these shards of the World Stone to be used as these empowering devices. That takes us to Diablo III. Seek from the five, one light gem begins its path anew. So again, they're using gem oftentimes to refer to characters. One light gem begins his path anew. This could be Tyrael, starting his new path as a mortal. An ancient black gem is discovered. The Black Soul Stone. A prison crafted larger than its kin. It was bigger, could contain more than the other soul stones. Its thirst, I'm going to guess the next word is 4 souls, strong enough to gather 5 of the dark before they could return home. So the spirits of the 5 evils defeated in Diablo II, again, Andariel, Duriel, and the 3 prime evils, their souls were lingering, and so they were sucked into the Black Soul Stone. Then the 6th gem shone freely. I think because we're talking about the 5, then the 6th would be Belial, the first of the lesser evils we take on in D3. Its fate to join its brothers and sisters, it gets sucked into the Black Soul Stone. Then the 7th, Asmodan, stands at the base of the Eye's End. World's End. Remember, when the World Stone exploded at Mount Ariat, that place, that's where Asmodan formed up his army and his base of power. Its armies defeated, follows at last. Asmodan was the last to go into the Black Soul Stone, filled the prison with nothing but darkness. There was only evil within the Black Soul Stone. The prison filled is given new life in the spawned of the stronger brother. Diablo is the strongest of the 3 brothers. Diablo's spawn is Leah. In the form of the Dark Wanderer, Diablo, or Prince Aiden, or the Dark Wanderer again, got busy with Adria, and Leah is the daughter of Diablo. Black Soul Stone, Goes into Leah, 7 becomes 1 primal, the prime evil. In its something sets out to shatter the throne of light. Diablo's plan is to go destroy heaven, breaking the perfection of one of the 4 remaining light and containing 2 to victory. I'm having trouble with this one. This might mean breaking the perfection of one of the 4 remaining, so Imperious, they kind of break him a bit, they wound him, and they sort of egg him on to changing into the aspect of wrath a bit. But then containing 2 to victory is not clear. They capture Oriel, but they don't capture Ethereal, the other angel. Malthael has vanished, and again, Tyrael is mortal now. So close only to fail and remain imprisoned. Diablo failed, of course. Once to a broken light stands in blank place of his lost brother, a brother who has taken a new visage. So I think the broken light here is Tyrael. He's no longer an angel, he has lost his immortality, he is now mortal, and he's going to stand in place of his lost brother. Malthael is lost, he just vanished, but that brother, the lost brother, took on a new visage. He became the aspect of death. And Malthael used to be the aspect of wisdom, but then Tyrael swapped places with him. Tyrael, formerly the aspect of justice, became the aspect of wisdom. So that's the end of Diablo III before we move into Reaper of Souls expansion. A dark prison corrupts its resting place. The Black Soul Stone was taken to heaven. Now this happens in some book material between Diablo III and Reaper of Souls. The Soul Stone, Tyrael could see, was corrupting heaven. The other angels couldn't see it, but Tyrael, because he was mortal, could see it. So then, this dark prison was stolen away by the broken light. Tyrael took the Black Soul Stone and brought it back to Sanctuary. He stole it. Then, a lost brother returns. Malthael comes back under a new name, the Reaper of Souls, to claim the Black Soul Stone, leaving but a shard. A shard of the Black Soul Stone was left. Tyrael used it as a homing beacon in order to find and track down the Black Soul Stone. A dark gem twisted to a new purpose. Malthael twisted the Black Soul Stone to now not just suck in the souls of the evils, but started sucking in and reaping all of humanity, or at least 90% of them. Takes strength from many, the countless people who died, to power a new master, Malthael. Only to be shattered by the one it serves. Malthael himself destroyed it. The death of a former light, Malthael is dead. Those in prison set free, all the spirits, including all the evils, were released. And that is the end of Reaper of Souls. And now we move into, drumroll, post-Reaper of Souls, unknown territory. A false gem attempts to capture a prime, fails and falls to a lesser host. What could this mean? Again, we are in complete speculation territory now. We are beyond the story of D3 and into either D4 or what might happen between D3 and D4. A false gem. So far, gems have referred to either angels or demons. So what is a false gem? Someone who's not really an angel or a demon? Attempts to capture a prime. Again, the spirits have been released out onto the world, so it could be some mortal, maybe a Nephilim, maybe the Nephilim of D3. Maybe this is what happens to them. Tries to capture the primeval, fails, and falls to a lesser host. A lesser host. The only time we've used the term host was to refer to humans. So the Nephilim is somehow defeated by a regular human? It's difficult to imagine how the Nephilim could possibly fail to capture a prime or fall to a lesser host. But again, folks, I encourage you now to sound off with your interpretation of what this could mean. One interpretation could be a false gem that's Lilith, but she was previously referred to as the burning red gem. She's not false, but let's say it's Lilith. She attempts to capture a prime. We see artwork of Lilith holding the head of Diablo. Maybe she's trying to capture his power. She fails and falls to a lesser host, maybe the main character of Diablo IV. Next section, the perfect return at last to finally claim the rightful throne among brothers. Well, the perfect refers to the 3 primevals. Sounds like they're going back to Hell. They haven't been there in a very long time. They've been on Sanctuary for quite a while. Hell has been left without any kind of leadership, so now they are reclaiming their throne in Hell. A vision of greatness. A lost, flawed gem returned at last. blank fallen light returned to its former glory. A thief left alone to plan. Eternal the 7 and the 5 gripped from their homes. The 7 and the 5 refers clearly to the 7 evils and the 5 angels gripped from their homes, being heaven and hell. Cursed to reside in a kingdom blank hidden. The hidden kingdom is sanctuary, so they're somehow cursed to stay on sanctuary. A lost brother. When they were referring to brothers before, they were talking about angels. A fallen guide. Places traded, forever cursed. Now, something fallen light referring to its former glory. Fallen light. Light refers to angels within this, right? A fallen light. Could that be Tyrael, returned to its former glory? Or could it be Inarius, who was trapped in hell, returned to its former glory? A lost, flawed gem. Now, they refer to perfect gems, the prime evils, flawless gems, the lesser evils. What's a flawed gem? Almost seems like it'll be some lesser demon. Could this be Lilith, a lost, flawed gem returned at last? Lilith hasn't been to hell in a very long time. We know that hell appears in Diablo IV. Could this be about Lilith's return to hell? So again, if we interpret this as this paragraph not being about Lilith, then this could be Lilith and this can be Inarius. Then a thief left alone to plan. In the Diablo IV opening cinematic, a group of grave robbers are basically diving into a dungeon for loot and treasure. One of them turns out to be the Pale Man. Could this thief be the Pale Man who, again, disguised himself as a thief? He was hatching his plan to get Lilith? A lost brother. That could refer perhaps to Tyrael being gone. Again, when they spoke about lost brother before, they were talking about Malthael. But maybe now Tyrael is lost. We don't see him. We haven't heard any mention of Tyrael throughout all of D4 materials. And one of the theories is that the man visiting a grave, that's the grave of Tyrael. One of the theories is that that man is Lorath. Places traded. Tyrael was the leader of the Haradrim. Maybe Lorath had to become the leader of the Haradrim. They traded places. These last 4 lines are definitely a lot more vague and open to any kind of interpretation. So at this point, I turn it to you folks. What do you make of this? Sound off in the comments. And that's going to wrap up this video. But do sound off in the comments with your interpretation of all this text. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you saw on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more Diablo content.